Hello everyone, in this video we'll be solving problem 130 surrounded regions. The problem statement is we are given an m by n matrix board containing letters x and o. We need to capture all regions that are surrounded by the letters x. In example number 1, all of the x's and zeros are represented in this grid. We need to update all of these o's into x's that are surrounded by x, but it cannot be in the border of the grid. So this 0 which is in the last row cannot be updated. So after replacing all of these zeros into x's, this is what the output should look like. I hope you were able to understand the problem statement. This is a very easy problem and should not take too much time to understand how we can solve it by breaking it down into smaller sub-problems. Let's switch to whiteboard and discuss the solution. With this input, we can replace all of these zeros that are in the center and which are surrounded, but we cannot update the one that are on the corners. So the simplest way to solve this problem is to break it down into smaller sub-problems. The first step is to update all of the zeros to some character that are appearing in the corner rows or columns, which means we'll iterate through all of the elements in the first and the last column and first and the last row and replace all zeros with a temporary character. Let's say we update it to the character t. So the 0 in the first row and the last column will be updated to t. The next step is to update the remaining zeros to x's. So we'll start the traversal across the grid and update all of the zeros into x's. We don't need to worry about all of the zeros in the corners as we have already updated it with t's. We just need to replace all zeros with x's. And in the third step, we'll undo the changes that we did in step number 1. That is, all of the t's in the grid should be replaced back to 0. So after the changes, these two characters will now be O. With this solution, our time complexity is O of m by n, where m is the number of rows and n is the number of columns. And the space complexity is also O of m by n, as we are using the DFS approach to traverse through the entire grid and doing the in-place operation to update the values of each of the zeros. I hope you were able to understand the explanation. Let me show you how we can implement this using C#. Here is my C# solution. I've broken the solution down into multiple steps. The first step is to iterate through the first and the last column and update all of the zeros to the safe character t. I am calling this mark safe region method, which takes care of the update. After updating the first and the last column, I am doing the same operation but on the first and the last row. Once the update is complete, then we need to update all of the zeros to x's. And at the same time, we'll update or restore the t's back to zeros. So I'm running the nested for loops with two pointers, row and column, checking the value that both row and column pointers are pointing and accordingly updating the value. The mark safe region method accepts the board and the current row and column index. The first check is to make sure that the row is within the range. It is not less than 0 or greater than the maximum row size. After that, I'm updating the value to t and recursively calling the adjacent 4 cells to make sure all of the values in that row or column is updated to t. This code, when submitted on LeetCode, beats 100% of the submissions in terms of runtime and 37% in terms of memory. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you were able to understand the explanation. The link to the code is available in the description below. Feel free to check that out and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.